All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Alec Atienza, and I am the planning project manager with the City of San Jose Planning Division. I'm on the development review team. So I just want to kick it off with a couple of brief items, just overview. So as most of you probably, when you entered the meeting, you're going to be on mute. Once we open it up for open forum, that's when you'll be unmuted. We'll unmute you one by one. You can ask questions, provide any comments that you like. There's a few people that are on the phone, it looks like, so you'll need to press *9 if you'd like to raise your hand. Otherwise, if you're on the computer, just use that raise hand function, and we will call on you in the order that you raise your hand in. If you'd like to access the agenda tonight, we have the link here at the bottom, but also if you received a hearing notice, there's instructions for how to access the agenda as well. This meeting is being recorded, so if you know anybody who was interested in this meeting but couldn't attend, we can provide a recording of that meeting as well. And then lastly, and very importantly, this is a community meeting. This is not a public hearing. There's no approval or denial of the project tonight. We are solely here to provide an informational community meeting on the project before you. So anybody who is within 1,000 feet of this site, that's property owners and tenants, received a notice for this meeting. If you did not, or if you're outside of that radius, you can email me after this or give me a phone call and I can add you to the interested parties list for this project. And then just a heads up, if you did receive a notice or you want to see one in the future, for the public hearing for this project, we will also send out notices at 1,000-foot radius. So again, if you're interested, let me know. I have myself and Jason Lee's contact information at the end of these slides. So next, I'm just going to go through the agenda quickly for the meeting tonight. So first, I want to introduce the speakers for tonight's meeting. So I have myself, Alec Atienza. I'm joined by my co-project manager, Jason Lee. He's on the screen there. Hello, Jason. We also have from the development review team, John Tu. He's our division manager. And then we have Charlotte Yuen and David Keon from the environmental review team. We also got folks from Public Works. We've got Renzel and Ray is here somewhere as well. We've got Renzel and Ray from Public Works. If you have any Public Works related questions, they're here for you. On the applicant side, you can see Studio Current. Jeff, I'll let you guys introduce yourself when the time comes for your portion of the presentation. Jeff, Studio Current, they are representing the property owner 940 Willow Owner LLC. And then lastly, Fred, if you want to give yourself a quick shout out from the District 6 office, I'll let you say hello quick.
Yeah, so Fred Buzo, representing Council Member Deb Davis. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Fred, good to see you. Thanks for coming. So we're going to go over the project review as well as the project review process. I'm going to focus on the planning process, and then I'm going to kick it over to Studio Current, who's going to focus on the actual project details itself. After that, we're going to spend the bulk of the time on public forum. So I'm just going to give a brief overview of the planning process next, and then Jeff will provide his presentation on the project details. We'll open it up for any questions and comments after that. Okay, so let's jump into it. The site that we're talking about tonight, as many of you know, is 940 Willow Street. It's approximately 0.080 acres. It's at the southeast corner of Willow Street and Cotenberg Avenue. The existing use is a commercial retail use. There's a liquor store there currently. The general plan land use designation is neighborhood community commercial, and it is located within the CN Commercial Neighborhood Zoning District. Surrounding uses are religious assembly and office use to the north, apartments to the east, and single-family residences to the west and south. The application that is currently under review, you've seen this number a lot, H23030. That's a site development permit application, and that is to demolish the existing building on site, remove 6 trees, 2 of which are ordinance-sized trees, and that would involve the construction of a 7-story mixed-use building with 126 residential units, as well as approximately 1,600 square feet of commercial retail space on the ground floor. The height of the proposed building is approximately 86 feet, and the latest plans include 127 parking spaces, and that's within 2 levels of structured parking. As of the latest plan set, the unit mix is 52 studios, 50 one-bedroom units, 20 two-bedroom units, and 4 three-bedroom units. And I will let Studio Current update that if needed. One of the key pieces of this project is that 20% of the units are provided at or below 80% of the area median income. So now the next couple slides, I'd ask everybody to bear with me, but this is extremely important to understanding the project and the application itself. So if anybody has any questions about this, you can ask me after, but I just want to get through this without too much legalese, so bear with me. So this application was submitted under what is commonly known as the builder's remedy. It's a popular term used for a legal fiction created by enforcing the negative of a provision of the Housing Accountability Act. That is quite a mouthful. For context, there's layers to this. The Housing Accountability Act prohibits a city from denying a qualifying affordable housing project unless the city can show that the project is inconsistent with the city's zoning ordinance and general plan land use designation. For context, the Housing Accountability Act is a state law that regulates housing development in the state of California. So in ordinary circumstances, the Housing Accountability Act allows a city to deny projects that are inconsistent with a general plan, land use designation, or zoning ordinance. But this is where the builder's remedy comes in. So the builder's remedy is a penalty for when cities do not have a substantially compliant housing element, and they cannot use inconsistency to deny a qualifying affordable housing project. So to take that another layer, a housing element is a state-mandated plan that each local government in California must prepare to accommodate its share of future housing growth. And housing element law is a state law that governs the requirements of each jurisdiction's housing element. So essentially, the penalty is that if a city does not have a substantially compliant housing element, it cannot use inconsistency with the general plan land use designation and zoning ordinance to deny housing projects that have a minimum threshold of affordable housing. So for this project, a couple key dates, which again, I'm going to talk about a few more state laws. So this project submitted an SB 330, Senate Bill 330 preliminary application on June 12th of 2023. So that is not a formal project application. That is a preliminary application under a state law known as SB 330, which also governs housing development in the state of California. On June 20th, 2023, the City Council adopted the city's housing element. And on October 10th, 2023, a formal project application was submitted. So what does that mean? Essentially, that means that the applicant submitted an SB 330 application to lock in their development standards and any applicable policies at the time that they submitted it, prior to the city adopting a housing element. And they had 180 days from that date to submit a formal application, which is what they did on October 10th, 2023. A bit of a mouthful, understandable if people are a bit confused, but just important to understand here for the context of what this application is and how it's being processed. So this next slide, what does this mean going forward? So the city will evaluate the project for compliance with objective health and safety standards, general plan policies, as well as CEQA, which I'll get into a little bit later. Aside from a few cases, this is an untested legal provision. There has been some litigation, some settlements in Southern California, but ultimately this is an untested legal theory, and there has been little to no guidance provided from the state of California or the legislature. With regards to this project and all builders remedy projects, the city is preserving its legal arguments to prove that it had a substantially compliant housing element as of June 20th, 2023. And to put a little bit more finer point on this, the main question here, does this project meet the general plan and zoning? This project does not meet the general plan and zoning. It has a general plan land use designation of neighborhood community commercial, and it's in the commercial neighborhood zoning district. Those do not allow for housing development. unless the project is 100% affordable or the applicant uses any other applicable state laws that would allow for housing development in a commercial zone. So if you're interested in the builder's remedy, including the city's position on these issues, I would ask you to contact myself and Jason Lee. We're here to try to guide you through this process as best we can as your city planning division. Again, we'll have our contact information at the end of this, and we will hopefully be able to provide a little more clarity in maybe in an email or a phone call. So with that, I'm going to move on to the actual review process. So builder's remedy does complicate this a little bit, but ultimately the city has to create a process and provide a process for the applicant so that we can review their application. So this here is a diagram of the planning permit process. It starts with the submittal of an application, which this applicant did in October of 2023. So the project is currently under review for consistency with any applicable city and state laws and regulations, as well as the California Environmental Quality Act. Just note that this is not the only chance for community participation. We allow comments to be sent in at any time during this process to myself or Jason. We're open. Our door is open. And then comments in this meeting tonight will be integrated as possible into staff's analysis. Once the project review and environmental review are complete, this project will be heard at a public hearing. As of right now, we do not know which hearing body this project will be heard at. It is dependent on the level of environmental review that will be required for this project, and at this point, we do not know yet what level of environmental review will be required. Ultimately, it could be heard at a planning director's hearing or a planning commission and city council hearing. If you're on the interested parties list, you will be notified as to the appropriate hearing body that this project will be heard at. And then lastly, a very key piece of any project that goes on in the city and the state is CEQA. It's California Environmental Quality Act. Most people will hear it referred to as CEQA. And it is a state law that requires states and local agencies to disclose and evaluate the significant environmental impacts of proposed projects and to adopt all feasible mitigation measures to reduce or eliminate those impacts. The level of CEQA review for this project has not yet been determined, but importantly, the CEQA review process must be completed prior to a project being scheduled for hearing. And if anybody has any questions about that process, we do have David and Charlotte from the city's environmental review team here tonight to speak to that if anybody is interested. Okay, now I'm going to stop talking. I've talked enough. I will let the applicant's representative, Studio Current, provide their project presentation. Jeff, let me know if you can share your screen. You should be able to.
All right, thank you, Alec. I am pulling up the slideshow. Do I need to hit share screen or am I good?
Yep, we're gonna go to Zoom and then Zoom buttons. Go back to the Zoom. Go back to the Zoom.
Go back to the Zoom?
Yeah. The Zoom screen, yeah, back there with the share screen.
Okay, I do need to hit that.
Yeah. Share at the bottom.
Okay, is it coming up as a full screen image?
We can see it, yep.
All right, good evening. I'm Jeff Current with Studio Current Urban Design and Architecture in San Jose. With me this evening are Chandra Swamy and Mikhail Williams from the Architectural Design Team. I'd like to thank Councilwoman Deb Davis's office and their team for helping us along the path, and for the planners, Alec and Jason, for helping organize and host the community meeting to show the neighborhood our project at 940 Willow Street. This is a view of the project from Willow Street. First thing is our team. We've got a great design team. As mentioned, we're Studio Current, Urban Design and Architecture. I've got the contact information for each firm, email and phone number listed there as well. The landscape architect is SAW. Meg Ihara and Avery Sell are the team that's working with us on the design. They do amazing work. We've got HMH Civil Engineers and Martin DeForge as the lead engineer. Here's a vicinity map of the project. You can see the site is in orange, kind of in the lower center of the site. The east-west street, the primary arterial that runs through Willow Glen, is Willow Street, shown in yellow here. If you take Willow Street east from the site, in other words, going this direction, it leads out to the Tamian station, where there's Caltrain as well as light rail. The primary north-south street here in the image is Lincoln Avenue. It's a commercial corridor. Lincoln is probably one of the most walkable streets in all of San Jose, with shops, restaurants, and offices along the avenue. Here's some neighborhood character slides. Willow Glen is mostly a single-family home neighborhood, but the need for more housing is pushing density higher and causing more multi-unit and mid-rise projects to be considered and built. The top row in this image are all images along Lincoln Avenue itself. In the middle row, starting with the center photo, is our site with the liquor store and the workout facility on it. And then you see Cotenberg here in the middle right, and this is Willow moving towards Bird Avenue on the left. The bottom row is the Tamian Station neighborhood with skyline at Tamian Tower in the middle, and several podium buildings that were recently approved and have broken ground on the left-hand side. We had several project design goals and urban planning goals when we commenced the project. One of them was to add residential units to the area in the form of a mixed-use podium-style building. As Alex said, it's 126 units in a 7-level structure. Another goal was to break that 7-story building down in scale by creating a distinctive base, 2 stories at the bottom, a 3-story middle to the building, and then a 2-story top. The building is enlivened by the use of a corner retail and cafe space. That was one of the goals, was to activate the sidewalk, provide opportunity for public space that would be neighborhood serving. And then beautifying the streetscape with landscaping, street trees, and outdoor seating. One of the other goals, you'll see a car here pulling into the garage on Cotenberg. 127 automobiles, 32 bicycles, and 6 motorcycle parking spaces are tucked away inside the building. And the ownership team did some studies with valet parking. They can get an additional 50 parking spaces in the building. They've used high quality design materials to create a lasting and desirable community for the residential community that's going to live here and the surrounding neighborhood. There is a note that Alec mentioned that the project is a primarily market rate. 80% or 100 of the units are market rate, and 26 of the units, or 20%, are going to be sold to qualifying affordable residents. Our site, as Alec mentioned, is 0.8 acres in size. It's got a liquor store and a workout gym surrounded really on all sides pretty much by an asphalt parking lot. The site's been notorious for vandalism, for graffiti, unauthorized overnight parking, and makeshift party spot. Our team completed a lot line adjustment in order to join 4 parcels into one single parcel. With regards to the site planning and the building form, like most projects, the architectural team starts by creating a sugar cube model, which you see here in the upper left corner. The initial goal is to see the maximum number of units that we can fit on the property. And once we've determined that, then we start to carve away at that form and shape it according to some of the neighborhood context and the adjacencies. And so we dropped off an entire side of the building on the south side and pulled the building back, creating, as you see in the bottom, a 2-story directly adjacent to the residential home next door. The building layout itself is a courtyard style apartment building with residential units surrounding a central landscaped court. The 5 upper levels are where the predominant units sit, about 25 or 26 units per floor. There's a swimming pool over on the south side of the 3rd floor podium deck, which is our main recreation level. We've got a community room, sun space, planter beds, a barbecue area, and as mentioned, a swimming pool. The base of the building here on the left has parking tucked neatly inside of the core of the building. This light blue area is the primary entrance lobby for the residential apartments. The corner yellow is the retail cafe space, and there are 4 townhomes as well that face Willow Street. The parking garage entrance is off of Cotenberg Avenue, and then the rest of the spaces behind that are trash and recycling, resident loading and unloading, and a bicycle room and bicycle repair facility. The exterior look and feel of the building, one of the things that the ownership team mandated for our design team was the use of high quality materials to create a high-end design. The owners told us, quote, this is Willow Glen, we need to raise the bar. This needs to look good and it needs to be built with quality materials. This architectural design is a contemporary take on a classic style, a mixed-use building with a defined base, in this case a 2-story white brick base with black storefront windows, a sand-colored body or middle section constructed out of an exterior plaster finish, exact finish to be determined, with wood trim accents that separate some of the main east and west elements of the building. The top of the building is done in a metal panel, a gray metal panel. This project has definitely gone over and above on the quality of materials that we see most owners request. This slide addresses some of the community benefits, and that includes replacing the old tired building and open parking lot with 126 new homes, 26 of them being affordable for the city of San Jose, which is no small deal to get housing built in the city. Create a lively corner and activate the corner and public right-of-way with the active retail. Public improvements include traffic safety items, beautification, landscaping, a new bus stop, wider sidewalks, and there's a public park fee that's being paid by the project, ultimately that will result in new parks for the Willow Glen neighborhood. Alec kind of went over the kickoff items, how we started the project. This is a project schedule with a view of the third floor sun deck and swimming pool on the left. The original submission was last spring of 2023, or just before summer started. The application was deemed complete in January by the city of San Jose. Here we are on June 3rd at our first community meeting. And we anticipate in about 8 to 10 months from now, maybe 6 to 8 months from now, a lot to be said depending on how things progress, but we'll be going to a public hearing. It may be a director's hearing, as Alex said. It may be planning commission and council, depending on the environmental process. Once the environmental process is complete and we go through a public hearing, when the project is approved, it would move to construction documents, which could be spring of next year. And then winter would be the pulling of the permits, probably in early 2026, with construction commencing in spring of 2026. And then roughly an 18 to 20, maybe 24-month construction schedule would get the building completed in about fall of 2027. So once again, the view of the building from Willow looking south toward Gothenburg. Thank you again, everybody, for attending this evening. I know it is a work night and people are busy. We appreciate your involvement and look forward to hearing from what people have to say. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Alec.
Thanks, Jeff. So with that, let's reserve the bulk of our time for public comment. We're going to open it up. John, too, our division manager here, he's going to be running the mute and unmute buttons. Because we have, about 180 attendees, this is not gonna make people happy. We're gonna keep it to 1 minute each. And we'll keep track of who's speaking. If we have enough time, we can turn back around and let people speak twice. But for now, just 1 minute each. And John, I will pull up the timer. I see a few people also on their phone. If you're on your phone and you'd like to speak, hit *9. Let's see, maybe about a half a dozen folks on the phone.
So as Alex showed you earlier, one of the slides, this is not going to be your comments. We're going to take a majority of your comments now, keeping track of the time to make sure that we get as many comments in as possible, and then staff responding at the end. And I also provide his contact information at the end. All right, I'm going to unmute Matt Fidelli. Please unmute yourself.
Great, thank you. My name's Matt Cadill. I live on Gothenburg Avenue. I do not oppose more housing. We need housing. We just not this degree of density on 940 Willow. Our current infrastructure cannot handle the additional capacity. We already have flooding in our storm drains and we have severe sewer problems. My question is for the city planning team and focused on the sewer issue. What is the diameter of the sewer line from Willow Street to Meridian? We're concerned that it's not large enough to handle additional wastewater from 126 units, which could house close to 300 occupants. Prove to us that the sewer pipe can handle 200 flushing toilets at the same time, something that might occur at Super Bowl Sunday. We're requesting full infrastructure analysis with an emphasis on the sanitary sewer, showing that Public Works can handle this number of new residents in one spot and a guarantee that the sewage won't back up into the residences on Gothenburg. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Matt Savage, please unmute yourself. Matt Savage?
Yeah, sorry about that. Hi, my name is Matt Savage. I'm a resident of Willow Street. I'd like to say that overall I'm in favor of the project, in favor of multi-unit housing. But I would like to see some of my neighbors' concerns about height and parking addressed in order to make this project a better neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Sue Cadelli, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi, my name is Cecile and I also live on Golden. I'm not against housing, I'm against a 7-story building. It will overwhelm our infrastructure that is already stretched. We would like to see the affordable housing compliance plan. We would also like to see the 20% of units required for low-income housing to be broken down by units. How many studios, how many 1, 2, 3-bedroom units will there be for low-income housing? Also, will there be an antiquities review at the property? Thank you.
Issue. Craig Meyer, please unmute yourself.
Yes, hi. We live really close to this project. We're not against affordable housing. We're just concerned that this density at 940 Willow versus other areas of Willow Glen is not where you could probably put a larger amount of people to solve the housing problem. We'd like to make sure that there's a full traffic study, the transportation to review the impacts of the construction and the construction equipment, as well as parking and traffic in the neighborhood. How this project is going to mitigate traffic obstruction on Cotenberg is really important, where it's already hard to make a left turn onto Willow Street. And it also having an egress on Cotenberg is going to be difficult. I drive up and down that street on somewhat regular basis, and it's very hard to have two-way traffic on that street. And with the additional traffic, there could be, potential for additional accidents. So make sure we follow the CEQA and site development statutes, please.
Thank you, Craig. Oliver Gordon, please unmute yourself.
Hi, you got me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. I'm Oliver Gordon. I live on Settle Avenue, which is just one block over from the proposed development. And like many others, I'm not against high density and affordable housing, but I am against a 7-story building that's going to overwhelm our overstretched infrastructure that we currently have. So I also ask that city planners please abide by the CEQA and site development statutes, and I'll yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, Oliver. Steve Rickens, please unmute yourself.
Hi, my name's Steve Ricketts. I live on Cotenberg Avenue, and I'm strongly opposed to this new construction. I'm deeply concerned about how it'll impact the value of my house and the quality of life for multiple reasons. First, the parking is a joke. There's way too few spots for this structure. I hope the plan meets all the laws in San Jose. As a result of this building, I'll likely struggle to park in front of my house, and our street will become clogged with cars. This is a form of blight. It makes it hard to do daily tasks. I can't believe this will increase my property value. Second, the infrastructure will be affected adversely. Simple things like getting reliable internet or consistently flushing a toilet will undoubtedly become more difficult, as will leaving my driveway or even walking through the neighborhood. I'm sure the proposal will benefit a few wealthy individuals, but as a result, I'm concerned that myself and my neighbors will suffer real material losses, decreased housing values, decreased rents, or even property values that don't grow as fast as other parts of Willow Glen.
Thank you. Michelle Thompson, please unmute yourself. Michelle Thompson, please unmute yourself.
Hi, Michelle Thompson on Cotenberg as well. And I have a 2-part question. First, I'm curious how you're gonna be able to provide electricity for all the new residents on a grid that is already strained. For example, will this require another substation? And 2, if public works infrastructure is impacted and has to be remedied, what fees will the city incur and what fees will the developer incur? Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Chris Friesen, please unmute yourself. Friesen?
Yeah, I'm actually the project owner. Alec, you were supposed to push me as a panelist, so I'm
I think we tried to promote you 2 times. I'll give you one more time.
That's okay. I'm happy to. Yeah, I'm happy to just hang out. Thank you.
Maureen Soderquist. Sorry if I'm saying that.
Hi, my name is Maren Setterquist, and I live on Cotenberg Avenue. I have a couple questions for the city planners. I understand you kicked out a bunch of builder's remedy projects in January that were filed in the window of opportunity. Can you tell us why those were rejected? And also, I'd like to know what your timelines are on analysis. To the developer, have you purchased this property or do you have the option to buy? Is this going to be a double escrow situation? Will you be the builder or is it your intention to entitle and flip it? Question 2. We've heard you're friends with the mayor. How can we be ensured you're not going to be given that you aren't going to be given preferential treatment and that all CEQA, site development, and other statutes not exempt under builder's remedy are going to be rigorously attended to? Question 3. Will you work with the neighbors to decrease the scale of the building so our infrastructure can better handle it? And 4, please walk us through what happens after tonight. Are story poles going up? What's the other deadlines?
Thank you. Ernest Blasco, please unmute yourself. Ernest Blasco, please unmute
I'm
yourself.
here. This is Michelle Belasco. My name's Michelle Belasco and I live on Cotenberg. We live in an old neighborhood of San Jose. What you're promoting cannot be supported by our current infrastructure, specifically with the antiquated sewer system, storm drains, electricity grid. We personally have had raw sewage back up into our house twice because the city side of the system was substantially broken, and many of our neighbors have had that too. Power outages in recent years have become much more common. Our soil is very soft and prone to sinking, causing foundation issues on property. What will a 7-story behemoth do? That's why we've had over 800 neighbors sign a petition to stop this planned project, and our numbers keep growing. And most people say they're for somewhat of a housing development there, but it has to be something that fits the neighborhood and meets all of our robust analysis under CEQA, environmental regulations, and safe development. Thank you.
Thank you. Auntie Ruby, please unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Ruby Salazar. My partner Steve and I live over off of Merle. I tend to take daily walks up and down Cotenberg, and so when I saw the notification come up, I was really shocked. I grew up over off of 12th and Martha, where we saw a huge development go up in the late 80s, and the impact on parking in the neighborhood was just awful, and it has always been awful. I'm worried about those little things, but the bigger things, I'm so glad that a lot of people are voicing their opposition to this and hoping that the right guidelines are being followed and that this doesn't become like political favoritism, played out with the developer. In the planning, are you guys also looking into permitting the neighborhoods? Because if this development does go through, we will see an impact on the neighborhoods. It already happens. We see people coming in to park from other areas. This is going to be a huge impact, and on safety as well.
Thank you. So, Fred, please unmute yourself. Fred W.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great. I'm Fred Weber. I live on Settle Avenue, right near Willow. Close enough that in that very first, very small picture, my house was visible. I strongly support this project. I think we can easily accommodate another 200 to 300 neighbors in this location. It's close to the heart of Willow Glen, to the business district, and it's close to Lincoln Avenue and public transportation. This is the sort of move that will make this area of Willow Glen much more of a vibrant urban village. And while it may be not matching the current city plan, it very much matches the spirit of the current plan, and it does qualify under the builder's remedy. I've heard a lot of talk about infrastructure. Infrastructure should not be used to block good development. Infrastructure is something that the city and the developers should solve in a vibrant city like San Jose. I strongly support this.
Thank you, Fred. Shane Smith, please unmute yourself. Jane Smith, please unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me? This is actually Lori Smith. And I live on the corner of Willow and Cotenberg, so I'm the little small house on Cotenberg that will be right next to the building. And I'm just really, really worried about a very tall building right next to me and the neighborhood. And how many people are not going to get privacy from something that is that tall that can see down into the backyards. And I do have problems already with internet. I know the internet went out for, like, I don't know how many days, 3 or 4 days, and it felt like it was a 2 mile radius or something, of darkness over the winter. And I don't know, probably wasn't that big, but there's internet problems, there's power problems already, and then there's also soil problems. And that's my biggest concern. How far are you guys going to need to drill to be able to stabilize a building of the size you're thinking for earthquake safety?
Sorry, Lori. We're out of time.
Oh.
Karen, please unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Karen, and I live on Minnesota Avenue, where I've lived for 30 years. You're from out of town, and you don't have to live here. Not in your neighborhood, right? If I wanted to live crammed in like a downtown area surrounded by apartments and condominiums, I would live there. Because of the limited infrastructure and old infrastructure, getting out of my driveway is already a death-defying feat. All day, every day, even on Sunday, where we almost got hit backing out of our driveway on a Sunday afternoon. We already have a large complex going in on Glen area where just a few duplexes used to be. Now we've got high-density housing. The streets here are narrow and old and cannot accommodate all this. You have 126 units and 107 parking places. Ask the people on Shasta-Hanchett area how that worked out with the San Carlos complex.
Thank you, Karen. Jack Stick, please unmute yourself. Jack, please unmute yourself.
Yes, hello. My main concern is parking. I'm not against housing and all that, especially when you have your mix is probably fine, but your parking is a serious problem in the Willow area. For instance, I live on Curtis Avenue, which is next street over from Cotenberg. And then the other way, a couple blocks is Settle. And both of these streets have parking on only one side of the street. And it's a nightmare parking. There's and these areas where generally the homes have room on their property to park a couple of cars, maybe 3. And here we're talking about not even having enough to cover one car per unit. I think that's totally unacceptable. I think you'd need to be in the range of 2.
Thank you, Jack. Rich Robinson, please unmute yourself.
Hi, Rich Robinson. I'm going to be within 100 feet of this building. And, I have the same comments. I understand we need to grow, we need to have housing, and I wouldn't have a problem with that. But I literally will be looking up at a 7-story building from a single-story home. And it's just doesn't feel right. The other thing I really have the concerns with is the parking. I have talked to businesses in the area and their employees. They're already parking all around this neighborhood. People that work at the dental office, people that work at the restaurants, they are already parking blocks away at times just to have some place to park to go to their job. And I just have a real hard time trying to see how parking is just going to be, it's going to be devastated.
Thank you, Rich, for comments. Chief Fox, please unmute yourself. Fox, please unmute yourself.
Hello, thank you.
Hello.
A couple of things quickly. I do support housing that's consistent with our adopted general plan and our adopted zoning ordinance, and I would support housing on this parcel. I have four immediate questions. One is, I don't understand how this project meets setbacks that would apply to multifamily housing, which are referenced in our citywide design standards and guidelines. So therefore, in my mind, those are enforceable. I don't see those being met. Secondly, I don't understand how this project is meeting some aspects of C3. I understand some of it, but not all of it. Perhaps it's in there, but it is hard to follow. My third question is about sewer capacity. This project is emptying its sewage onto the Kothenburg small main. I believe it's a 6-inch size, and it's aging. So I want to know that there's sewer capacity. Lastly is the removal of the trees. Those are city trees. One is on city property, one's on the property line. They are 90-inch and 118-inch circumference. Thank you.
Donna McLaurin, please unmute yourself. Donna? Donna, please unmute yourself. Donna, are you there? All right, Donna, I will try to get back to you. Camila Villa, please unmute yourself.
Yes, hi, I'm Camille Villa. I live close to this project. I spend my days walking, biking, and yes, occasionally driving down this busy corridor. And I think it would be great to have dense housing options available at this lot, which is serviced by 2 major bus lines, including the 25 line that comes by every 10 minutes and connects people to the light rail and the Caltrain. I think one of the things that preserves Willow Glen's unique charm is the vibrant mix of both single family and multifamily housing. That's all within close proximity to Lincoln Ave, a major center of our commercial and civic life. I just hope that we can keep Willow Glen a dynamic and welcoming community for families of all shapes and sizes. I cede my time.
Thank you. Ben, please unmute yourself.
Hi there, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi, my name is Ben Segrist, and I support this project. I lived on Kothenburg as a kid with my parents who moved out of state partly due to affordability concerns. Right now, I'm a renter on Brooks Avenue. This is a development that I could live in, especially because I expect eventually my landlord will decide to sell the single-family home I currently rent. I grew up in San Jose. I'm a high school educator. And to all the people who oppose this project, I ask, where do you want your children's teachers, your nurses, your food workers, and all the other people who support this idyllic Willow Glen life to live? We need more housing, bottom line. We can figure out the sewers, we can figure out the parking. And the people that serve you deserve, at a minimum, to live in the same community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Yuri, please unmute yourself.
Hi there. Thank you for letting me speak. I completely support this project. I'm glad there are a few more people who got to speak and say the same thing. I'm actually speaking because some sort of NIMBY group left a leaflet at my place encouraging me to attend this and basically say that it's terrible. It's not terrible. I think there are reasonable questions like, will the utilities support things and so on, but mostly it's just preying on people's fears and their prejudices, all this stuff about like who's going to see in my backyard, all these things. I guess I would ask people to have an open mind and then realize that in the big picture, you need things to be more affordable. And just saying, I support housing, but not, 7 stories, it'll always be, but not something. So thank you for listening.
Yuri? Jeff, please unmute yourself.
Yes, hello, my name is Jeff. Rich talked about how he's 100 feet away from this project.
I'm in a building that is 13 inches away from this project, so I'm the house next door. So a couple things, a lot of people talk about traffic and whatnot. To me, the biggest concern is safety. In the plans that were rendered, the ADU that I'm sitting in is not even a part of it. I'm literally 13 inches away from the side, so God knows what could happen there. When you talk about, the people are supporting it, saying, oh, looking into their backyard, I have 2 daughters under the age of 12. If you have 126 units next to me, regardless of what income levels they are, the more people you have in a congested area, my daughter's window faces that. So for everyone who's like, oh, people are complaining and doing this, have some compassion. What I would say for the people that support this, come over to my house with a black house on Kottenberg, meet my family. Let us talk to you about the concerns, because from an emotional perspective, it is impacting us significantly. You're ruining our lives, essentially, if this thing, goes up in the way, shape, form that it is. And if you can't have empathy for that, then I don't know.
Yeah. Amo, please unmute yourself.
Hi. So I have a few points. I looked at rentals available in 15 minutes of this project, and there are 700 apartments available for rent. So Ben, you can look on Zillow. There are plenty of apartments available for rent. There used to be a shortage. Now there isn't. There is also parking issues everybody raised. I used to go to Damien to go to San Francisco for commute. So Damien gets full by 6:45 and Dildon gets full by 6:45. I've missed both of them. Grocery stores are always full, their parking lots. I completely agree with the person who talked about daughters and looking into backyards. I've lived in cities all my life. We moved here because we wanted space. So this is just the wrong place for the project.
Yep. Sarah, please unmute yourself.
Hi, is this working for me?
Yep.
Okay. So my name is Sarah White and I live on Kottenberg Avenue with the gracious assistance of my parents who have been here for about 48 years. I'm wondering about 2 things. To echo what Craig commented on earlier, I'm concerned about an egress on Kottenberg and corresponding traffic. For example, today I had to call 911. I was on hold for more than 2 minutes. All is okay, but that is to say, I worry about traffic and consequential accidents and question the noted traffic improvements. I understand what Fred said about infrastructure and developments, and I respect that perspective. However, if this does continue on, can the traffic improvements be elaborated on and addressed? With young kids in a walkable street, I worry about someone getting hurt and city support not being able to get to help on time. As for the affordable housing that Ben mentioned, we have some wonderful teachers and community members that keep the neighborhood in Lincoln Avenue at top shelf location. As Mr. Current's quote noted, the best walking street in San Jose.
Thank you, Sarah. Sorry, unfortunately. Ron, please unmute yourself. Ron, please unmute yourself. Ron?
Yes, this is Ronald Orlando. I don't currently live on the property, but my house is on 1257 Kottenberg. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, the house is on 1257. My concern is the surface streets are not built for the kind of traffic that this building will bring in. Either the people that live there, parking I'm concerned with because Kottenberg is already a narrow street. Settle is very narrow. Curtis is very narrow. These streets are not built for the type of traffic this is bringing in. And that is my concern.
Thank you, Ron.
That's it.
Linda Ellis, please unmute yourself.
Hello, I'm Linda Ellis. I live about 75 feet away from the proposed property, and I have to say I am a licensed architect with over 30 years of experience. I've done out-of-the-ground shell projects, I've done some residential, and I really loathe what I saw tonight. I thought the renderings were not representative of what the architecture will look like. The scale is far too big. the comments on the infrastructure are right on the money. This is not the property for a 7-story multi-residential building. If they want to build something like this, there's a whole bunch of brownfield sites and other empty buildings that can be demolished that are not that far away, that are on the bus lines, for example, down by Leylon. This does not and should not occur in our neighborhood here. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron Fontenot, please unmute yourself. Aaron, there you go.
Ash, I live on Shabron Way, about 300 feet away from the project. As a whole, I don't oppose housing. What I do oppose is housing with lack of infrastructure and a monstrosity that's 7 stories high that is clearly impacting a lot of people and causing congestion in the area. I think there's a balance that can be reached. Parking has to be improved. The ratios are ridiculous. 9 parking spots for retail, ridiculous. So I'd like to see a better discussion over the scale of the project. And to that architect's comment, I think she has it right on the money. I yield the floor.
Thank you, Karen. Mario Malva, please unmute yourself.
Hello, my name's Mario Malave. I live on Blewett Avenue. So around 2 blocks away from where this 7-story building is going to be constructed. I'm very concerned. I just moved here last year, and I didn't sign up for this. Basically, I know everybody's talking about affordable housing. I'm very much so I'm for affordable housing, but I feel like 20%. Why not make it 100%? We all know why. There's a bottom line here. If people want to make money, why not make it 100% affordable housing? 20% was like 40 units. So I feel like this is just, cash grab. And I feel like the infrastructure cannot support this. We've already had multiple issues with PG&E, with electrical. And of course, they're not going to be using gas. This is going to be all electric. And I feel like this 7-story monstrosity cannot support that. So I really hope the environmental study will be done thoroughly. And I look forward to looking at that. Thank you. I yield the mercy.
Thank you, Mario. Diane Sullivan, please unmute yourself.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I'm worried about the public endangerment. And I agree with all the other people who are against this project. I just want to mention that the people, we need affordable housing, but 20%, this is a cash cow for this developer. And I want to correct the developer who said that this location is a magnet for graffiti and problems. I've lived here since 1986. It's most definitely not a problem area, and shame on you for making that seem like, oh, you're going to make it so much better here. Everyone has mentioned, so it's not the meaningful affordable housing. There's very little of it. So I just, I agree to what everyone else said. And again, this is a public record. So traffic accidents, the sewage backing up, I'm on Chabrant Way, that happens here. Anything endangering happens, and we can prove it's due to this development. Now it's on the record. So thank you. And I agree with everything everyone has said who has been against this project, and we will be following this. Thank you.
Thank you. Emmanuel, please unmute yourself.
Yes, hello. I just wanted to say I'm a strong supporter of this project. The renderings look beautiful. I look forward to this becoming a huge asset to the community. This will basically help, alleviate, the housing shortage we're in. It'll add rental housing stock to the community. This type of development needs to go in every neighborhood in San Jose in order to, make up for the decades of under-building housing that we've done. A lot of it due to NIMBYism. And it will help meet the city's RHNA numbers for the current housing cycle. It's the ideal location because it's in such a walkable area. The businesses around it and nearby will benefit due to the added number of residents to the community. It's near transit. It's one of the most walkable parts of the city, and I can't wait to see this project happen.
Thank you. Lori, please unmute yourself.
Hi. I'm Lori Elliott. I live on Merle Avenue, which is across the street and one street west of Cotenberg. I live on a T arrangement with two streets that intersect. There are about 40 houses on this T neighborhood, and our only access, our only way out is Willow Street. As it is nearly impossible to get out much of rush hour. Now, what are we supposed to do if there is an emergency? We have had emergencies here. It is impossible for all of us to evacuate. And I'm very concerned that the 7-story building with all of these residences are going to very negatively impact our quality of life. We need to be able to move in and out of the street.
Thank you. Sandy Woolsey, please unmute yourself. Sandy?
Hi, can you hear me? Yep. Yeah, I just was here to offer my support for the homes that are near the building. We've been that home. We are behind the new Compass building on Minnesota. We live on Iris Court. We lost our privacy, we lost our sky, our morning sun. When construction began, our ground shook so much. We had our outdoor barbecue counter crack, different stones in our backyard. We had new cracks in our house. It shook our neighbor's house. House is at least 5 houses away. We had materials fall from very high roof into our backyard where our kids were playing. We're left with a loud HVAC system that we can hear from our bedroom, and we have people looking into our backyard all day. I know that this building is even higher than that building, and I know that this is a 24-hour, if they're living there, they're there the whole time looking into their backyard. So I just feel for the neighbors and just wanted to offer my support.
Thank you. John S., please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, my name is John Schwartz. I live on Cotenberg, very near the proposed development. I have nothing against reasonable development, and I'm also not against affordable housing. But with apologies to the architect, I'm vehemently opposed to this massive, obese density of this proposed project. Regarding parking, I understand that the city of San Jose has gotten rid of the requirement to provide adequate parking for housing, but it cannot be overstated that the streets parallel to Cotenberg, Curtis, and Settle are so narrow that you're only permitted to park on one side of the street. Cotenberg itself is wide and cannot accommodate cars from different directions if cars are on the street. Opposite Cotenberg are numerous apartments, and their residents take up street parking for the first 75 yards of all of these streets all the time. So with 126 parking units, with probably 200 drivers, when you retail parking, EV parking, you're ultimately left with about 100 spaces for the remaining cars. To the developer, how will tandem spaces be used? Any spaces reserved for retail? And to the city, with all of those cars, where are residents going to put garbage, recycling bins, lawn clippings? How is the city planning?
Time is up. Michelle Netzley, please unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Michelle Netzley. I live on Harmel, a couple blocks away. I didn't prepare any comments prior to this meeting, so I'm really only speaking in response to the presentation that was made. But I just want to say, let's not be mistaken. This truly is in the heart of a historically notable, close-knit neighborhood with low-density walking streets filled with families. Quality materials don't make up for the quality neighborhood that would be destroyed by the vastness of this project in this quaint community. With the project at Tanian, they're not even going anything this tall. It's so grossly out of scale that I find it really crazy that it's even being proposed. I'm curious where your initial sugar cube analysis is of a thoughtful townhouse condo complex of like 3 stories maximum that we could be evaluating, which would be much more appropriate at this location. I also want to know what other developer fees are going to be paid, like a park fee. There's going to be a whole lot more that's going to be negatively impacted than just our parks. And I also want to know the schedule on the CEQA process. If there's not a determination been made yet, that's a long process.
Thank you. And I have the persons whose numbers ending in 988, please unmute themselves. Or his phone number ending in 9. There you go.
Hello, John.
Hello.
Hey, John. My name's Mike Fatso, and I live really close to the project on Cotenberg Avenue. Down at the end of Kottenberg, there's a sign that says no trucks over 5 tons going down Kottenberg. I've had my sewer, the city of San Jose comes to my sewer about clean it out usually every other year. Okay, so the trees have done some havoc on our sewer system, and so it's antiquated. So what's going to stop the trucks and the construction coming up and down Kottenberg? And the egress and ingress on Kottenberg should be moved to Willow if they're going to do that. Also, pulling out of Kottenberg onto Willow on busy times, commenting on other people and holding on there, it's very quite dense, and it is pretty dangerous pulling out sometimes. So I'll yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have Natalie's phone. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah? Okay.
We can hear you.
Great. So just so you know, I'm pro-housing for community members like teachers, policemen, firefighters. Everyone needs affordable housing. We recognize these people do not make Silicon Valley wages, but they work in our communities. My brother is a firefighter, so I totally understand. And many of the people who have joined this call to say they support this project really means they support housing, which we all support. So we're all on the same page. There shouldn't be conflict about this point. Also, the city of San Jose has a San Jose urban villaging housing plan that's designed for these types of projects around massive transit where other 7-story buildings are being built. I think this project would be better suited for a location over there. I should say I am the Black House next to the construction site, and my husband spoke earlier. I've had ongoing conversations also with Chris, the developer, and I appreciate Chris for the open dialogue. But I'm frustrated by the design. If Lincoln and Willow,
that's the
yes,
end of the time. That's the end of the time. Josefa Alman, please unmute yourself.
Hi, John. Apologies, I'm a little ill, but even being sick, I did have to participate in this. This is such a grotesque development. You know, I've been a lifelong resident of San Jose, lived in many areas of San Jose my entire life. This is suited for Midtown or downtown San Jose. Willow Glen is a historic neighborhood. The architect has said it best, is a single family resident homes, and its history and heritage would be 100% ruined with this monstrosity being built. And our infrastructure is not going to be able to handle this. And it's very thoughtless of whoever the owner is. I don't care of proposing this. This to me is a cash cow. And it's really somebody trying to push a bill from the state of California to make some money and insult us with a 20%, low income housing. To me, this is a monstrosity. Thank you.
Thank you. Randy J. Gillespie, please unmute yourself. Randy? Randy, can you unmute yourself?
Wow. All right.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm Randy, and I live on Settle Avenue. On the presentation that designers, that it looks like their timing was not correct. They were doing starting construction before the permit check. Can you have them relook at the timing that they have on their presentation? Other than that, is I'm opposed to the 7-story building, and I like to have a 2-story that reflects the look and feel of Willow Glen existing neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Larry Ellis, please unmute yourself.
I am Larry. I live very, very close to the site. I can walk out my kitchen and look up to the 7-story building. When we look at Willow Glen as a neighborhood, we've talked about it being historical. Lincoln Avenue was named after Abraham Lincoln the year after Lincoln was shot. So the houses in this neighborhood were built with transportation of the turn of the century, of 1930, 1920. The streets were built for Model T Fords. the driveways were built for Model T Fords. Frankly, a lot of people have talked about traffic in this neighborhood. I have people park in front of my house now because of commercial working in the neighborhood. So I already have congestion. This is just going to make it much, much worse. And it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. The neighborhood doesn't support it.
Thank you. I have app. Is it mute yourself?
Hey, yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I live on Nevada, so a little bit further away than a lot of my neighbors who have commented, but I just wanted to chime in because I do hear legitimate concerns, infrastructure, traffic, things of that nature. And to be fair, a lot of them seem surmountable. A lot of them do seem like fear-mongering, but I moved to Willow Glen quite recently, mostly because we really loved the walking. We loved how tight-knit the neighborhood felt. And my own vision for what Willow Glen can be is more of that, more of mixed-use development, more of density, maybe not 7, but 3, 2, I don't know, we can pick a number, but it seems like, to me, I support the nature of this project because I do feel like Willow Glen can change. You know, history can be remade, and I feel like it's got to start somewhere. It's never perfect. The infrastructure is never perfect, but these all seem like problems we can all figure out together. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Arena, please unmute yourself. Arena, please unmute yourself. Hello.
Hi there. I will first thank you for this time, and I really appreciate the community chiming in and providing their feedback, pro and con. My questions to the city are, I will echo what a lot of people have said. How are you going to support the infrastructure? I would also ask, what are you going to do about parking enforcement? I live one street over from Cotenberg. The apartment buildings parking lot are already empty because residents don't want to pay for parking, so they park on the street, which is further intensifying the traffic issue. Also, about the retail stores that are going in, what type of retail stores? Half of the retail store on Lincoln are sitting empty, so we're going to have additional retail stores that will be sitting empty. Or that's a question, not a statement. So love to have the city address, what are you going to do to enforce parking, traffic, infrastructure? Thank you.
Stephanie, please unmute yourself.
Me? Great. Hi, everyone. Stephanie here. I'm right in the vicinity. You know, when I Google Willow Glen, it says Willow Glen is a neighborhood in San Jose that's known for its tree-lined streets and historic architecture. Nowhere does it say we are a 7-foot story building apartment situation. There are a big development going in right by Artigas Food. I think it's the perfect area for it. That's great. This is the heart of Willow Glen. This is not where it's meant to be. Infrastructure can't handle it. Parking, there is none now. And you're adding in all these other residents. It's not a place for this type of building. People move here because they want space. They want privacy. And they want that historic feel. And why do we have to tear everything down? And this goes for any builder, not specifically for the space, but in London, everyone keeps history. Now we just demolish it and build new just because we want to. I mean, I'm not for this at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Jake, please unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Jake Wild. I'm a member of Catalyze SV, and we're a pro-housing organization, and we generally love to see projects like this one. Currently, this site has no homes, and when this project is finished, there's going to be 126 new homes for however 100 many new community members. And that's something great to see. San Jose is the biggest city in the Bay Area. It's a dynamic and changing place. And as things do, they change, they grow up. And we're excited to see this project move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Nancy Mass, please unmute yourself.
you. I live on Kottenberg, directly across the street from this project. I don't oppose more housing, but I vehemently oppose this 7-story project, which does not fit within the residential street, which is Kottenberg, nor is it anywhere near the height of any building in our Willow Glen area. The scale is completely out of proportion with the surrounding area. I have the following questions. How are you going to mitigate the impact of our privacy by ensuring that windows and balconies do not provide direct views into our homes, windows, or backyards? We request an analysis of the impact of all windows facing existing homes within a 1-block radius. How are you going to mitigate the impact of our privacy by using trees or other foliage for screening the neighborhood? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I have a list of people that have had their hands currently raised. I'm going to call them just so we have time in the end to kind of respond to some of your questions. If you have already spoken, I'm going to bypass you to let the people who have not provided their comments. As we stated before, this is not the only opportunity to provide comments. The way we want to be respectful of people's times, as well as provide an opportunity to respond to some of the comments. So, David Fox, please unmute yourself. David?
Yes, thank you for giving me a chance to talk. My name is David Fox. I do single family and multifamily development. I reviewed the plans, and on the HMH plans, there seem to be some C3 deficiencies. I will outline them more distinctly in an email to the staff. On the setbacks, the developer seems to be using the current setback when in reality the setback should be tied to the use of the property that they're currently proposing. The architect said that they can accommodate 50 more spaces if they have valet parking. Then I believe that we should demand a deed restriction that provides valet parking for the building if it's going to be built. And there is no construction management plan whatsoever. There's going to be hundreds of trucks, contractors' trucks, and cement trucks, that sort of thing. There needs to be a construction management plan. I'd like to see that when it's done. I'll also be requesting all of the soils reports and an infrastructure analysis. Thank you.
Thank you. John G., please unmute yourself. Yep.
All right, well, I've been in Willow Glen for a few years now, and I really don't have anything negative to say about this project other than that I do kind of wish there were even more affordable units available. But I have been a little bit dismayed to hear how many folks have been calling in against this project, parroting the various pre-templated scripts that I've seen written by a local real estate agent. And yes, I looked into who posted all those posters to our nearby houses. Those talking points include soil, sewage, and drainage problems, and I was even shocked to hear someone say that things like lower rent prices were actually a bad thing for the neighborhood. I've heard a lot of excellent reasons why we should be improving the infrastructure of Willow Glen, which would benefit everybody. If folks are concerned about traffic, increasing housing density is exactly the solution to that. It's precisely our urban sprawl and low housing density that makes traffic so bad in our neighborhood. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Catherine, please unmute yourself. Schaefer. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you for your time.
No problem. You got any comments?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that we don't have any 7-story structures on Willow Street. I live about 4 blocks away, and it'll just be the elephant in the room. I wouldn't be opposed to a 3, maybe even a 4-story building, but 7 stories is just, it's a little outlandish for this neighborhood, and the traffic is already terrible. It needs to be rectified. We don't have the infrastructure. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you. Tony, please unmute yourself.
Yes, hi, my name's Tony Contreras. Can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you, Tony.
Great. I live on Myrtle Avenue, just a block and a half away. My wife and I welcome more housing, including low-income housing, but we oppose a 7-story building in this area for many of the reasons cited by my neighbors. Some people said we can deal with the infrastructure. I think that the infrastructure needs to be addressed prior to making a building of this magnitude. I believe the tallest buildings within a 1 mile radius or a maximum of 3 stories. A 7-story structure like this doesn't fit the neighborhood. If the project was scaled down to 3 stories, I would welcome and support it, including low income. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Diana Papadias, please unmute yourself.
Hi. I live on Settle, which is a block from this, and from my upstairs bedroom, I will be looking at this 7-story monstrosity. And I have not seen any plans from real estate agents to try and influence us as homeowners. But I do strongly believe that the infrastructure does not support this type of building and the type of not just traffic, but infrastructural problems with electricity and plumbing that will be more problematic than it already is in our neighborhood. And this is absolutely insane that we are talking about something of this scale in our neighborhood. The infrastructure is not there to support it. It doesn't match the scale of anything else in Willow Glen. And like everyone else said, the history and heritage of the area is not going to be supported. And last thing, our property values are going to decrease.
Thank you. Daniel Ligiatore, please unmute yourself.
Hello, my name is Teresa. My husband Daniel is sitting here, and our neighbor Karen. The three of us live on Chabot Way. We're not against affordable housing, but we are against this 7-story building. We agree with all the infrastructure concerns that have already been placed, and we yield the rest of our time. Thanks.
Thank you. Jason Abadias, please unmute yourself.
Hi there. Thanks for letting me speak. And my wife spoke a little bit earlier. I live at 1294 Settle Avenue, and we've lived in Willow Glen for over 15 years now. And I just want to say that a project and a building of this size and scale completely does not fit the look and feel of the neighborhood, nor do any of the streets, the size of the streets, support any of the type of traffic that would be coming and going from this type of building. And you know, the visual aspects of it just are not there to fit the surrounding neighborhoods. It looked completely out of place and ridiculous. Again, not opposed to affordable housing or more housing, but to do this in a residential neighborhood that's been primarily planned around 1- and 2-story buildings is just absolutely ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you. I have iPhone 4. Please unmute yourself. iPhone 4, please unmute yourself. All right. Natalie phone, please unmute yourself. Natalie's phone, please unmute yourself. Natalie. All right. Ron, please unmute yourself. Ron, please unmute yourself.
Okay, sure.
There you go.
Hi, this is Ron, Settle Avenue, 1 block west. I guess my main concern is just the proposed structure is way out of character with Willow Glen. I've been here, I mean, that's the main reason I came into this town, because I like the old houses. We got a 1926 house, I'm the second owner, and I like to keep the character of the neighborhood. I know that, you know, once you put, you know, in a land of bungalows, etc., you put a 7-story structure, you basically can't go back. You basically ruined your neighborhood. So the charm, you get all these things. People come to Willow Glen because of that. People go out in the suburbs, they're like, I wish I was in Willow Glen, because they like the small houses, they like the old, they like the history. So that's my main concern. Although, you know, typically our street is a disaster. We have a single lane road. It's too narrow, too much traffic.
Brett, please unmute yourself. Brett Flushner, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, this is Brett Flusser. I live on Cotenberg with my girlfriend, who is a teacher for I don't know how many years. Truthfully, this thing's just outrageous. It's huge. It's unsustainable. By definition, it doesn't fit the neighborhood. We moved here about a year or two ago because of the quaintness, because of the old houses, because of the charm. I have not seen anything regarding traffic calming measures. I am on the other side of Cottenburg, and I don't believe there should be lots of cars coming down this side of the street. And my other concern is once this starts, it won't stop. The other concern would be also what happens when the infill happens at the church behind us, is that we end up with another behemoth of a 7th-story building with condos and townhomes backed up right to my backyard. Just say no. It ain't working, people.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna try one more time. Natalie?
Hi, I'm here this time. Okay, so I talked to Chris, the developer, over the last year. He's a nice guy. I understand he's a businessman, but that's what it is. It's just business. There has been zero consideration for changing the design of this building. Literally, the swimming pool is above my kitchen window. There's a community center that I heard about tonight from Jeff, the architect. So my question is, if you guys are doing this for the good of housing and the good of people and the good of San Jose, then treat Willow Glen with some respect and don't have a community center where they can just look down Cotenberg and see into people's backyards, and no respect for property values or anything. I would have thought at this point they would have changed the design and pushed all the workloads to Willow Glen or to Willow Street, but they didn't. Everything's sitting on Cotenberg. And so if they would take everything that should be private and leave it private and let everything stare down at Willow Street, then I think neighbors would be much more comfortable with this project. But the architect decided not to do that.
So I've been a planner for about 10 years. I want to say that overall, you guys have been very respectful of the overall process and provided a lot of feedback. So I wanted to at least acknowledge you guys for being that in that audience. It's a very large attendance today. So just wanted to make that observation. Thank you guys for being respectful and allowing each other to speak and provide comments. I know there are still about a couple more people who still want to speak. I do want to give an opportunity to the staff as well as the applicant to kind of respond and provide some details of comments. And Alex at the end will also provide you guys contact information and how there are additional opportunities for questions. But thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks, John. Actually, first I wanted to ask Chris and Jeff if you guys wanted to speak and maybe respond to some of the comments that we heard, and then we can answer some other questions for city staff.
Jeff, I'll go.
We're okay without commenting right now, unless Chris, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I'll just comment since I didn't get added to the panel till the end here. I want to echo from our ownership that we appreciate everybody's time and thoughts. It's not lost on me that this is your neighborhood and that this is important to every voice that was represented tonight. I think as an ownership group, you'll find us a respectful listener. Like all things, there is a push and a pull on a project. So height versus parking, projects that make sense on a market rate versus affordability. The comment that was made this evening relative to the city's parking limits. The city has removed all parking requirements across the majority of the city. And I think, this project could be a lot shorter without any parking. But we don't think that's feasible or frankly in the best interest of the neighborhood. So we look forward to the continued process of discussing this further with you all. The last thing I would just point out to the group is the city of San Jose approved a project down at the corner of Meridian in Willow that is 7 stories. It's 92 feet in height. It's market rate structure. This was approved in April of last year, not under a builder's remedies application. It is adjacent to single family homes. And I think, I'm not saying that that is what we're, the precedent is being set here for this project. I just think it's, the commentary here I would make is that this push and pull of housing versus historic character, as it was called out, and infrastructure comments, is happening all over the Bay Area. And it's a common give, and we'd love to discuss this further with you. And I'd like to compliment our team. Our team has done a very nice job, in my opinion, of trying to articulate the architecture, particularly the height and the design at the top. You'll see a lot of structures that throughout the Bay Area typically are, they're cheaper in construction, and that makes for a project that seems more massive and less respectful of its neighbors. So I'll kind of yield my time there. Thanks, Al.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, Chris. Let's see if we can answer a few of the questions that came up. I know one of the major comments or themes that we heard throughout this was general infrastructure and sewer capacity. And we have, I'm going to put Ray Sedora from Public Works on the spot here. See if he can answer that question for you, or at least provide some guidance on the process. You there, Ray?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, once again, Ray Sedora with Public Works, project engineer assigned to the project. So initially, when the project was submitted its formal application, we did reach out to our master plan group that did initial analysis for sewer capacity for the site for 126 units at Willow and Cotenberg. Their initial analysis shows that there is a 6-inch main along Cotenberg and a 12-inch and a 10-inch sewer main along Willow Street. They conducted analysis for 2 different scenarios, one for the development to connect along Cotenberg, the 6-inch main, and one along Willow Street. To be more conservative, they analyzed a model connecting to the 10-inch line, the smaller line along Willow Street, and both analysis came out that there would be no capacity issues with the development along line 40 Willow Street.
Thanks, Ray. And while I have you, I'm looking at the Public Works memo. Can you confirm a transportation analysis is required for this project?
I believe it will be required, and I think Renzel here can speak more about the
traffic
analysis.
Yep, we got Renzel from the traffic team. You there, Renzel?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, so as you mentioned, this project will require a local transportation analysis and will sort of address and analyze some of the concerns with the amount of traffic and any sort of safety issues with vehicle collisions in the area. So we'll definitely take a look at that once we receive the report from the project.
Okay, thank you, Renzo. Let me just go through another couple items. I'm just going on the list here. Someone brought up parks fees. I have the most recent parks memo, which take this with a grain of salt, people, because this is just preliminary, but the estimated parkland in lieu fee is approximately $1.6 million. And that can change depending on how the project changes. Another point that was brought up, setbacks and design guidelines. So as we know, this is a builder's remedy project. There is limited ability for the city to enforce zoning standards. However, the city's position currently is that the citywide design guidelines and standards do apply. If you're interested, you can see some of the memos that city planning has sent out to the applicant, particularly regarding design. This is an ongoing process, and we are still working with the applicant on that. CEQA schedule. Maybe David, would you be able to speak in general terms about the CEQA schedule and process where we're at right now?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Alec. So, yeah, David Keon, Principal Planner on the city's Environmental Review Team. So as what has happened is right now, CEQA is the applicant has hired a consultant that is working at the city to develop technical studies. These technical studies will then determine what type of environmental review document would be required for the project. For example, it could be what's called a mitigating negative declaration, which means that mitigation measures will reduce the impacts unless it's significant. Or if there are impacts that cannot be mitigated, it would be what would be called an environmental impact report, or EIR. So it's still in the very preliminary stages. The consultant is still preparing those documents. When that is prepared, it will be published for public circulation if it's a mitigating negative declaration or an environmental impact report. So we're in the very early stages. However, if you have concerns or interest, please contact Nguyen. Charlotte. Sorry. Contact Charlotte. Charlotte's email is going to be coming up on the slide shortly. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, David. Ray, I had one more question for you about someone brought up C3 compliance. Can you maybe just discuss like how that process works at this stage?
Well, at this stage, we're currently reviewing for C3. I know we had some comments, so that item is still not being closed out. Still things that need to be addressed. But as you mentioned in your presentation, the site did submit a preliminary application that locked in certain policies and standards. And I believe this project under MRP 2.0, that's what the standard is going to apply for this project. So it's still under review. We haven't finalized, and approved their design yet, and that's still ongoing.
Thanks, Ray. And just for the folks at home, that means stormwater. So how we review for stormwater control. And that is done at the planning stage, but it's still ongoing. Chris, you already mentioned this, but I will reiterate it again. The City Council in April of 2023 removed all minimum parking requirements from any development in the city, not just housing development. So any commercial, any type of development in the city, there are no minimum parking requirements. And then similarly on residential parking permits, as of right now, there are no new residential parking permit. There is no new residential parking permit program planned. That is enforced by the Department of Transportation, but it must be authorized by City Council. And as of today, there is no planned new areas for residential parking permits. John, Jason, anything I might be missing?
No,
Anything you got? All right, well, I want to be conscious of people's times. Oh, Jason, go for it. What's up?
Electricity grid, the city does not control that. That's PG&E. Same with water services and internet services. That is all private providers. The city is not involved until, of course, if they need to upgrade their services, then they will go to Ray and Public Works or also the utilities division, depending on if it's project specific or not, to do their upgrades for power lines, water pipes, fiber infrastructure, what have you. But the city is not in control of that. Those are services.
Thanks, Jason. I actually had one more point. Somebody brought up removal of trees. If there are any street trees that are removed, as in trees in the public right-of-way, this planning division does not authorize that, and we cannot authorize that. That can only be done through the Department of Transportation. So any trees associated to be removed that are associated with this development permit can only be done if they were on site. And so we have an arborist report that we'll have to review for this project to basically ensure that no trees are being removed unnecessarily. So with that, I want to be conscious of everybody's time. I know it's a little late. We went over, and I thank Chris and Studio Current for staying on a little longer. I'm gonna just quickly remind everybody that we're still in the project review process, and we need to go through the environmental review process before this gets to a public hearing. And again, this could go to a director's hearing or a planning commission and city council hearing, depending on the level of environmental review. I'm going to leave this slide up here for a while, but I do want to thank everybody for coming. And we do have a survey at the end of this, if you wouldn't mind taking it. And to echo what John said, we really appreciate everybody. You guys were really good about being on time and letting everybody speak. That's very much appreciated on our end. If you have any questions, you can reach out to myself. I have my phone number here as well as my email. I'm actually going to be going on paternity leave starting on the 23rd of June, and I'll be back in early August. So in the meantime, you can reach out to Jason Lee as well. And if you have any environmental review questions, you can reach out to Charlotte UN. But again, thank you everybody and have a wonderful night. We really appreciate it. Thanks.